Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to have everybody here. I knew that I wanted to do another episode, and I was really struggling with what was it that I wanted to talk about. I've had a lot of thoughts running through my head, and I've had a lot of different things that I wanted to say and I wanted to share, but I was having a really hard time really narrowing it down to what really was speaking to me. Um, and I woke up this morning and I knew exactly what I wanted to say. So I am really excited to share this with you. So the topic today is going to be on the divinity of women as God's crowning creation. And I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to explain it. I'm going to explain what that means and how that applies to us. So for those of you who are new, my name is Adelle. I am a feminine energy coach and teacher. I love to help women recognize and remember their divine and inherent worth as women. And how when we remember who we are, when we connect to that part of us, we show up in the world so much better, and we ask and we expect other people to show up for us in better ways, in ways that we need it. Not by actually physically asking, but when we remember our inherent worth, it automatically sends out this frequency that we are no longer available for or to be treated in ways that don't align with who we are. So let's get into this. I'm really, really excited. I love this. I love this type of a topic, and I love sharing this. And I love sharing my journey through this, because this right here, recognizing and remembering my divinity, my inherent worth, and my lineage, basically, that really helped me to step out of the people pleasing. It helped me step out of trying to do things so that people would love me. And I started to just love me because of who I am, and because of whose I am, and because of who my heavenly parents are. I have divine worth, and it has nothing to do with what I choose to do day in and day out, what I don't choose to do. I have inherent worth no matter what, because I am a daughter of my heavenly parents. So that's really what I want to be focusing on today. So let's kind of go back. Let's look at the beginning, like the beginning of time with creation. I was scrolling through Facebook today, and I saw a post, and it just was so vital, and it was so important. It's one of those things I saw and it was like, oh, this has to be incorporated into my lesson today. So this woman was talking about creation, how everything, when God created the earth, everything was created in perfect, order. It was created in perfect order. So fish were not created before the waters were divided. That would be ridiculous. It wouldn't support them. And so the land was divided, the water was divided, all of that was divided, and then vegetation and all of the plants were then put on the earth to support the creation that was going to be coming after, which was the fish and the animals. You wouldn't create the animals before you had a way to sustain their life. That wouldn't make sense. So if that is true for the animals, continue with what was created next. Man was created next. Now, again, like the animals and everything was created to support the life of man. What came after man? Woman. If the same pattern continues, man was created to support woman. That was his purpose of being created, was to support and to protect and to provide for the woman. How cool is that? I love that so much. And going back, looking at it, that doesn't mean that the woman is more important than the man. It means that his role as being created as a man was specific to protect and to provide for the woman. Think about like the men's structure. They are naturally bigger. They're naturally stronger. They're naturally faster. They're naturally able to do things physically that is going to allow them to protect this incredibly vulnerable creature, which is woman. And woman, her natural gifts and ability are not necessarily the outside. She's not stronger. She's not faster. She's not more able to do the hard labor like a man is. Her natural inherent gifts as a woman are more internal. She has the ability to connect to her intuition on a deeper and an easier level than the men are. So you think about, what is a woman's role? The woman was created to bring life. She was created to be the portal between heaven and earth that connects the spirit to the physical body. And so she needs a man. She needs somebody that will protect her in her role, because that is I'm not going to say a heavy burden, but that is a significant an important role that she has. So she needs to have the man to protect her so that she can settle into her intuition. When a child is born, babies cannot speak. You have to be connected to them to know what it is that this child needs. That's where that intuition comes from. That's where that nurturing ability comes in. That is where the wisdom comes from. And she's naturally gifted with this so that she can fulfill the measure of her creation, which is to bring life, which is to nurture and support and to love and to raise this child. The man, the measure of his creation, is to protect and to provide for the woman and for his child so that they can do their role. Isn't that so beautifully and perfectly put together? The man is not better than the woman because he's stronger and faster. No, he has the divine responsibility of making sure that the woman is safe, that she is loved, that she is provided for, so that she can then pour that into this child that needs and that deserves love. I love that so much. Women, being created as a woman, that gives you the right to be loved and protected by a man. Being born a man gives you the right and the responsibility to protect and to nurture this woman and the children that she will bring. I think it is so important that we understand and that we see and that we know that. For so long, women have been pushed down. They have been made to feel less than because they are not as physically strong, because they're not as physically capable of doing the things that the men were created to do. But that was never our responsibility. That was never our role. Our role was to be able to connect to that intuition, connect to that wisdom, to be able to nurture and pour life into this child that we have created, to pour life into the union of a woman and a man with their child. That is a woman's role. That's her gift. We were each created and born with different roles. It's almost like, I think, wouldn't it be ridiculous? You think of all the different professions out there. Let's take a doctor and like an electrician. Two very different roles, two very vital and important roles. What would be the point of saying, all right, doctor, you now have to act as an electrician, because that's the only thing that is important here, is just the electrician. That's what has been taught, and that is a wicked tradition that has been passed down for generations and generations, that a woman, her role is not as important as a man, and so for her to be seen as valuable, she must then emulate the man. She must do the things that the man does so that she can have value. That's not true. That is such a wicked, wicked belief. And we as women, we have to stop playing into it. We have to stop believing that, because our role as a woman is so important. It's the inner role. It's the inner strength that we have. You think about it, as a mom, you kind of naturally knew when something was going on with your kids. I can look at my child, or I can hear them sneeze, and I can say, "Oh, that you're getting sick." Like I know these things, or I can just feel that there's something off with my child. The coolest thing is you don't have to be a mom to access these gifts. These are naturally given to a woman, not because she's a mom, but because she's a woman. You can naturally feed and you can naturally nurture your own intuition, and it can grow and you can rely on it more. So as a woman, just knowing that you were created with the importance and with the right to be protected and loved by the man, I think that's beautiful. Just like a child comes to this earth with a right to be loved, with the right to be protected, that child deserves that. You as a woman being created and being put in your womanly body, your spirit is a woman and your body is a woman. You were divinely designed to be a woman. And as such, you have the right to be loved, protected, and provided for by the man. That is why he was created. That is his job, is to love and protect you. Your job is to love and protect the children that come into your life and to breathe life into those around you. Isn't that just, that feels so good. I just love that when I recognize that and you can see that. For so long, we have been taught that men have more worth, that men are more important, that men bring more into this life, that they do more. And it is true that the man, masculine energy, the men, they were created to do. Protecting is a doing action. Providing for is a doing action. Those are things that they were naturally asked by our heavenly parents to do. They were given the role to go and do for the woman. The woman was given the role to go and be. Be the nurturer. Be the one that breathes life. So let's look at actually like when a woman becomes pregnant, when you are growing a child in your womb. And this, think of this for anybody. Not just for a woman having a baby, but I want you to visualize this because this helped me a lot. When a woman is creating life, she's not doing anything. She can't physically sit there and manipulate the cells to make sure that the spine is being created, to make sure that the eyes are being created, to make sure that each little finger is being created. She can't physically, naturally do that. She doesn't have the ability. All she needs to do is to be present and to allow her energy to be part of this child that's being created. That's all she has to do. There's nothing physical that she needs to do. And it's the exact same thing for women, even if you are not a mother, even if you are not creating life in your body, just being present is giving life to those around you. I think I've used this analogy before, but I want to use it again because it's really important and it's really potent. It's one of those things that it kind of like breathes understanding into this. So think of when you were a child, if your mother was home when you came home from school. The home feels different when there is a mother or a mother figure in the home. She's not doing anything. She's not doing anything physically to create this feeling of mom being home. It's just her presence that gives the home a different feeling. And that right there is the feminine energy. That is our gift as women When we come into a space, when we are around other people, we naturally, there's an energy that it just exudes out of us, that we naturally, without even trying to do, we emit this incredible energy. So I really, really want to impress the importance of recognizing your worth just because you're a woman. That there's nothing that you have to do to be valuable. There's nothing that you have to actually, you don't need to go into the workforce. You don't need to compete with the men to show or to prove that you are worth being provided for, that you're worthy of being loved. Just being born a woman. That right there is the only qualifier that you need to have the right to be loved and to be protected. So now I kind of want to talk to the women who maybe are not in a relationship where they feel that they are loved or protected, who feel like they are stuck, that now, yeah, that this is all great information. I would love to feel that way. I would love to see that. But the relationship that I am in does not support that. The way that I was raised does not support that. The things that I am seeing and experienced does not support that. So I want to talk to you now. How do you get back to knowing that you are worthy of being loved? A child comes into this world and they naturally believe and know that they are worthy of being loved. A baby cries when it needs something, whether or not the people around them are going to give it to them, because the baby comes to this earth with an inherent knowledge that they deserve to be loved and protected. And then, unfortunately, through life circumstances, through inherited trauma or past trauma or different things, we start to tell ourselves a story that I'm not worthy of being loved unless I do X, Y, and Z. Or the only way for me to have value is for me to prove that I have value by doing whatever it is. So let's revert. Let's go back. Let's sink into remembering who we are. Remembering that we are daughters of heavenly parents. We are daughters of a king. And because we are daughters of a king, we are naturally, inherently queens in our own right. That's how it was in medieval time, right? A king, his family was royalty, always. And that's how it is. Our heavenly parents are royalty. Therefore, we are royalty. And whether or not we remember that we're royalty has no effect on the fact that we are. We are royalty because of our lineage. We just have to remember. So many times we believe the stories that other people are telling us, and we shut out the stories that our heavenly parents are trying to tell us. So what you need to do is you need to learn how to quiet the voice of the world and reconnect to your heavenly parents so that they can tell you so that they can remind you that you have inherent worth. That because they created you, you are a queen. Because they created you as a woman, you have the right to be loved and protected. The best way to do this is what I did. So this is why I say it's the best way. Maybe it's not the best way, but for me, what I started doing about 1.5 years ago, when I recognized that there was a disconnect. You know, you hear in church and you read in the scriptures how much your heavenly parents love you and how you have divine worth and all of these things. And that's a lovely idea. But the stories that I was being told, the stories that I was telling myself, the proof that I was seeing was that I didn't have divine worth. That it wasn't unless I behaved this way that then I could be loved. And I started to recognize and see that that didn't feel good. That didn't, the more that I learned about my divinity, the more that I learned about who I wanted to be, the more I started to feel how wrong it was that in order for me to be loved, I had to perform. It just started feeling so icky for me and so wrong. It just felt so wrong, and it felt like such a counterfeit. And so what I started doing is I started setting aside time every single day for me to connect with my heavenly parents, and specifically with my heavenly mother. I felt such a need to be connected to her specifically. I know that my heavenly Father loves me, and I know that that's very important. But just like as a daughter in this mortal world, there are certain things that my mother just understands more than my earthly father understands. And so when I was really struggling with this, and when I was really asking my heavenly parents, like, where do I need to go? What is it that I need to do to help me break out of this wicked tradition, of this wicked pattern? And I had the distinct impression that I needed to spend time with my heavenly mother. Daughters look to their mothers to see how they are expected to act. And daughters look to their fathers to see how they deserve to be treated. So my heavenly Father was teaching me how I deserved to be treated. I deserve to be treated with love and respect because he loves and respects me. But I was having a disconnect between, how do I show up? How do I embody this feminine design that I was gifted? I was so confused of how to do that. And that's when I got the impression that I needed to connect to my heavenly mother so that I could see how to act, so I could see where my worth was as a woman. My heavenly mother is a queen. She is loved and protected and respected by my heavenly Father on the deepest, most intimate, most perfect level. And she shows up as the most perfect queen and companion to him in her love and intuition and support and guidance. And so as I started setting aside time, I did an hour. See, I was able to do like maybe 3 days a week. I would set aside an hour to just purposefully connect with her. And I would use my visualization, and I would see, like I would visualize her coming to me. I would visualize how I would act or how I would feel. I would visualize what she would look like and how she would interact with the different me that came to her. You know, there were some days that I came to her angry, and there were some days that I came to her sad. There were days that I came to her confused. And so I would watch to see how she would interact with me and how she would show up and the things that I would feel in my heart that she was telling me. And as I did this consistently over weeks and months, I started to see a change in myself. I started to see that I was deserving of being loved and respected because I was a woman. That I didn't have to have dinner ready. That the floor didn't have to be vacuumed for me to be loved and respected. I started to see that my worth came because I was a daughter of my heavenly parents. And it didn't come because I did anything. That I was able to breathe life into my home, that I was able to love and nurture and support. And all of that was gifted because of who I am. Not because I sat down and had to do love. You can't sit down and do love. It's just something that you are. You can't do nurturing. You can't do intuition. Those are just things that you naturally have. And when you start to see that, and when you start to connect to that, you start to see that the performance, it's it's a facade. It's fake. And I also started to recognize that it didn't matter how much I performed or how well I performed, that it was never quite enough. I would try and I would try and I would do and I would do, and it still somehow wasn't quite enough until I started connecting with myself. I started removing myself from the idea that I had to perform. And I started just connecting and knowing that who I was and what I was bringing to the table was enough. I heard an analogy the other day, and I want to share this. It was cute, but at the same time it wasn't cute. It was powerful, and I have used it in my life. So this analogy I actually got from Alexa Smith. She's a feminine energy coach, and she is the founder of the Feminine Glow. So the analogy that she uses is a queen, like an actual Renaissance queen. You think of her and imagine that this queen, she's up there at the royal tables. She's right there, and these jokers and these jesters come in to perform. And for some reason, this queen decides that instead of wanting to be part of this royal family, instead of wanting to be connected to, the kings that she was born to be connected with, for some reason, this joker is able to seduce her, and he convinces her to come down off of and away from the royal table and to come down and to be with him at the lower tables. And I was listening to this analogy, and I was like, oh my gosh, how often do we, as queens in our own right, how often are we seduced by the fancy things that maybe these jokers or these jesters have to offer? But they're just facades. They're just fake. They're just a performance. But yet they're able to convince us to come down from the royal table and sit at the lower table with them. And the queen, just because she has decided to descend from that royal table, it doesn't mean that she's any less of a queen. It just means that for a moment she has forgotten that she is royalty. She's allowed herself to be seduced by this show, by this facade. She's allowing herself to be entertained. And as long as she allows herself to be entertained, and as long as she allows herself to stay down there at the level of these jokers and these jesters, they will treat her as equals to their joker and jester lifestyle. It's not until she remembers that she is a queen, that she stands up and she goes back up to the royal table, that she is now treated as a royal. You will never be treated above the level that you believe you are worth being treated. So when you descend from that royal banquet table and you go down and you allow yourself to associate with those who do not see your worth and who choose to not see your worth, they will not treat you as a queen because you have lowered your standards. You have forgotten that you are a queen. You must remember. You must remember who you are. You must put your crown back on. And when you do, when you remember who you are, you then command the attention of those around you. And they can't help but see you as the queen because you see yourself as a queen. Once you recognize that and you go back to where it is that you belong, you emanate this power that you didn't before because you were trying to hide. You were trying to fit in with the jokers and the jesters when you were never meant to. You were never meant to be down there at that level. You were born, you were raised, you were created, you were taught. You know within your heart, in your soul, how to be a queen. Maybe you've just forgotten. But when you elevate, when you remember and you go back up there, you are saying that you are no longer available to be treated as a commoner. You are available and you will only be treated as a divine being, as a divine queen. And then you are now available to be protected and to be loved and to be provided for by a king. A king cannot see you if you are hiding among the jokers and the jesters. He can't see you. He may want to, but when you have taken off your crown, there's nothing to distinguish you from that. But when you remember who you are opening up that space for the king to come in. And the jokers and the jesters, let's speak about that for just a minute. They have the ability to raise station. They can. But they must do the work themselves. They must see your value, they must see your worth, and they must choose to do the work that it will take to become the person that is worthy of you. But as long as you are allowing yourself to stay at that lower level, they will never be inspired to change and to grow and to become. When you stop trying to hide who you are to make the people around you comfortable, and when you raise to the status that you were born to be, you are allowing the people around you to raise in status with you. As long as you're not doing that, they will have no desire to raise with you. But once you do, you're opening up this space. You are allowing them to see, do I want to raise with her? Do I want to become a king that can sit beside her at the royal table? Or am I okay to stay down here at the joker and the jester table? And sometimes that will be the case. Sometimes you will raise, you will recognize who you are. You will no longer be available to be treated as a commoner. And those people that you have been resonating with, they will decide no. Or that maybe they'll make fun of you. Or they'll say that, oh, now you think you're so much better than we are. You're not better than they are. You're just remembering who they are and you're choosing who to associate with. And those jokers and those jesters that were trying to keep you down, who are trying to keep you entertained to stay at their level, if they choose not to do the work, if they choose not to elevate themselves, they are going to look across the table and they're going to see a woman or other people who are resonating at their level. And they're going to say, oh, these people, I would rather be with these people. They are at the same station that I'm at. They're at the same level that I'm at. And it's not because you as a queen were not worthy or were not worth raising to the occasion for. It's because they couldn't see their own value. And so they chose to stay small. They chose to stay at that level. And they chose to stay with the people that they're associating with because it's easy. Because that's what they're comfortable with. It has nothing to do with your worth as a queen. A queen is a queen, whether she forgets it or whether she remembers it. You were always a queen. And the scullery maid or the kitchen maid, whatever it is, she's not better than you because your joker left you for her. She's not better than you. She is also a queen that is disguised as this poor common woman because she has forgotten who she is. When you elevate yourself, when you remember and when you start exuding the power and the love and the compassion and the presence of a queen, it causes other people to, one, either also see that there is something about you that they want to become. They want to work towards being worthy to be in your presence, or they will feel so small and they will feel so repulsed by you because you are a mirror to them. Your crown only proves to show them that they are not at that level. And for some people, that is going to be inspirational. And for some people, they're going to say, if she can do it, I can do it. I want to become that. Or they will feel that hollowness, that ache within them. And instead of choosing to do the work to become, they will go the other way and they will try to shame. They will try to make fun of. They will try to talk bad about you. But a queen at the royal table does not care what the scullery maids and what the jokers and the jesters are saying about her, because she knows her worth. She knows her value. And she also knows that they have worth and that they have value and that they are choosing where they are and that that's okay. They're not less than she is. They are kings and queens in their right. But until they remember who they are, they will stay at that joker and that maid level. I loved that analogy. It spoke to my soul so much, and I was able to see it and visualize it. And it helped me to, instead of condemning or instead of judging those who maybe judged me or maybe weren't as kind to me as I would have liked, it gave me compassion, because I just realized and recognized that they're still in the forgotten stage. They still don't know or remember who they are. And that's okay. Everybody takes their own journey. I am choosing to remember who I am, and that is elevating those around me who choose. It's elevating me. It's opening up space for an incredible king to come and protect and to provide and to love me the way that I deserve to be loved. Jokers and jesters have no idea how to love a queen. They have no idea what to do with her because they were never taught or raised with how to treat her. Whereas a king, from the time he was little, was born, he was taught, he was like all of the things prepared to be a king of a queen. And so when you elevate yourself, you are now surrounding and allowing yourself to be surrounded by those who are prepared to love and protect you in your divinity, in your incredible, powerful role as his queen. I loved that analogy. Another one that I like to think of is you look at a chess set. So a king is powerful, but he is only as powerful as his queen. So think of that. The man was created to protect and to provide for the woman, for his woman. And if he is able to protect, to provide, and to love her, and to help her in her role of being the one that brings the child, being the one that breathes life into their union, the one who has that intuition, who has that wisdom, when he fulfills his role of creation to protect and provide for her, and she fulfills her role in creation, they become stronger together. They become a kingdom that is ruled by a powerful king and a powerful queen. And when you have both of those, that kingdom cannot fall. It has so much power and so much potential. They are united. One is not above the other. They are equals. You think also, going back to king and queen analogy, the kings wanted to unite with queens. That made their kingdom more powerful. A king on his own was not powerful, but when he was able to unite with another kingdom and bring that unity, the queen brought him so much power, so much wealth, so much more ability for him to fulfill the measure of his creation. We are that queen. We are that queen. The man, the king, he can be doing everything that he needs to do. He can be doing his inner work, which he should be. He should be preparing himself to receive the queen so that the union is powerful, so that they are united, so that their kingdom does not fall. The queen, just as, again, in medieval time, she was raised, she was taught how to be a queen. And a king was raised and taught how to be a king. so that when they came together, their union was purposeful. They brought so much value to their kingdom as a king and a queen. And that is exactly how we are, girls. We are queens in our own right. And the men, when they choose to step up, are kings in their own right. We must stop hiding among the jokers and the jesters. We must stop allowing ourselves to be treated as commoners. We are not commoners. We are queens. We don't have to do anything to bring value to a kingdom. We are queens. Just by uniting with a queen brings value. That is us. We bring the life to the union. Remember how powerful you are. Remember who you are. Spend time connecting with the ultimate powerful queen, our Heavenly Mother. She will show you how to show up in your queendom. She will show you how you should show up, how you need to love and nurture yourself. Because a queen hiding among the commoners, she's only hiding because she doesn't see her value. It's not because she's not valuable. When you see your value, you start to look around and you start to see and you start to feel how unaligned you are. And you start to say, this is not who I was born to be. This is not who I was created to be. I choose to be the queen. I choose to step up to that. I choose to only see myself as a queen. When you see yourself, when you start to recognize your power and your divinity, you stop begging this joker with bells on his hat and silly balls to tell him, silly balls is in the balls you juggle, silly things to try to convince you, you're begging him to convince you that you are worth being entertained. That's not how this works, my girls. No, you are not created to be entertained by a juggler. You are created to be protected and provided for by a king with a kingdom, to be his queen. Remember that. Remember who you are. That is the key. That is the key to unlocking everything you have ever wanted in this life. It is all right there in front of you. All you have to do is open your eyes and remember who you are. And I promise you, the world will start to shift. It can't help but shift. When you step away from the commoner table, when you put your crown back on, the world around you can't help but notice. And it will shift around you. I love you guys. Please remember who you are. If you want to work with me personally, I have a link below that you can schedule time with me. I love helping women remember their divinity. Remember that they were created to be loved and protected. They were not created to perform and to beg for scraps on the table. You are a queen. I love you, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.